A very good morning to all of you. Welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express Papers Chandigarh edition. Today is 5th of December. Now, before starting, I would like to tell you we have a Telegram channel where I'm sharing current affairs based MCQs, besides important updates and some of the additional reading that goes with the news analysis. Right? So, all of that are posted over there. Now, coming to the topics that are important. So, one is the issue of cyclones. So, we'll discuss briefly. Then, today there was some article about groundwater. So, groundwater issues, challenges, we need to cover that. Then, there is the Navy Day. So, Prime Minister Modi gave a speech and he highlighted some of the important things that his government did. So, that we must see. Besides this, there is an editorial on the recent peace accord in Manipur, which was with the militant organization UNLF. So there is an IPS officer who has opinionated on it, and he has raised certain concerns in implementing the peace accords. So this is important because we have had a lot of peace accords in the recent times. Then what are the issues with it, and why are we not having sustained peace? Okay. Then the COP28 is taking place. It is expected that the talk on phasing out or phasing down of fossil fuels will be taken up. Previously, in the Glasgow summit, COP26, the coal phase out or coal phase down discussion took place. So now fossil fuel is expected. 80% of the energy requirements come from the fossil fuels, right? And most of the emission is coming from petroleum, the vehicular that is there. Okay, so coming to the front page now. So first thing that we see of relevance to us is the landfall today. So that is indicating that the cyclone is going to approach the land. And the name of the cyclone is Cyclone Michong. This name has been proposed by Myanmar. Okay. Now, as far as the mains paper goes, there are the following ways by which UPSC has been asking questions. And these are only possible ways also. So one is 2013 as to how the cyclones are named, the nomenclature of cyclones. So this has to be prepared. In fact, just now when I was reading this, so I came across this, right? DNA explained how Cyclone Michong got its name. So any of these articles you can read, you will get enough material to write your answer. Next, the genesis of a tropical cyclone, as to how the tropical cyclone starts. Right. You can also be asked as to what are the key constituents of a cyclone. Okay, so that thing is there. Now, if we talk about genesis of a tropical cyclone, we see that it is always expected around these months, October, November, December, around this time period, post-monsoon, we see cyclones emanating from the eastern side moving towards the west in the tropical areas. This is true for US also. Why is this happening? Why around this time period? So this is again genesis, but they have added another dimension to it, that's all. But it's basically talking about the same thing. Then, of course, when the cyclone takes place, disaster mitigation has to be done. So from disaster management point of view. So the nomenclature one will be should be GS1. Second one is definitely GS1 geography. Third one is disaster management, GS3. Okay. Next, there is a news article concerning aspirational districts. So when we see the BJP's election victory, we see the chunk of the votes have come from the aspirational districts. In 2018 of mains, a question was asked with regards to the aspirational districts program. So what is this? So this scheme was launched in 2018 and it was to target those districts, particularly 112 districts, which were extremely backwards. So those who were extremely backwards, some of the obviously of all the country, some of the districts were to be identified and they were to be made aspirational. They were to be made model districts. That is, they have good infrastructure, there is employment, there is peace, and obviously when there is employment, there is peace. In fact, when we look at the aspirational districts, the distribution, most of them are coming from the left-wing extremist affected areas. Now, I have shared with you on Telegram an article concerning the left-wing extremism, on aspirational district program. So this is from Niti Aayog. So what I was found was most important was, interesting was, some of the initiatives that are taking place in different regions. For example, Gyanoday project in Goda district, Gold Mart initiative, Recharge Pits, Black Rice initiative, right? So these you can refer, you can read more, and maybe individually also this can be asked. For example, in Kerala, although unrelated to this, but GS3, cyber security, Cyber Dome project was asked. This is not a union, it's specific to Kerala government. So these are important initiatives which Niti Aayog is acknowledging. We can read about this and the page numbers are given over here. PDF is with you. Next. Recently, National Crime Records Bureau data has been, NCRB data has been released for 2022 year, previous year's data. NCRB is under Ministry of Home Affairs, logically. Okay, so we have city-specific news, and it says that economic offenses related to FIRs have increased by 71.34%. Now, these include forgery, cheating, breach of trust, cyber crimes that are taking place, all those things. So that is one issue that we see. The other issue is crimes against elderly are increasing. So they have shot up by 11.4%. Now, can we say that this is not just cities, Chandigarh specific, but it can be across India also? And something at an India level has to be done, right? So crime against elderly, the vulnerability of the elderly, what policies are to take place. Now, this crime against elderly is definitely a social issue because socially vulnerable group is being targeted over here. Well, what interventions have to be there? So if we look at the interventions part, it is what the government is doing. So that will come under the GS2, right? So from GS2, this thing can be seen. We can prepare this topic. Policy for elderly overall also, holistically also can be seen. Then something which is not there, but it is always a concern, that is the crimes against the women are increasing despite number of initiatives of the government. So that's there. In fact, any issue that is there, crime related, you can always quote the NCRB data. That is your dharma, right? That's your duty that you have to do. Refer NCRB to quote facts with regards to the vulnerability, crimes, etc. Okay. Now, as far as we are concerned from Main's point of view, economic offenses, right? Forgery, cheating is not so much of a concern. What is of concern is bigger crimes, money laundering, round tripping of black money. What is the government doing with regards to that? GS3 syllabus. Terror financing, the role of terror financing. Then again, money laundering is linked to terror financing. The issue of black money, tax evasion, double tax avoidance agreement, shell companies. And lastly, the organized crime syndicates, they are functioning, they make the revenue. That money is then made clean by the activity of money laundering. So nexus between organized crime syndicates and money laundering, nexus between organized crime syndicates and terror financing. So that way economic offenses can be asked in the mains paper. Next. The irony of the government with regards to prohibition, one case we can see. So on one hand, government says prohibition. The politicians talk about prohibition. It is also mentioned in Article 47 of which is Directive Principles of State Policy. Okay. But at the same time, to make revenue, to earn higher revenue, because the excise duty from liquor goes solely to the states. So states are promoting the sales of liquor. There are targets being set for liquor vendors and they have to be fulfilled, unreasonable targets, because revenue is coming from there. So one is the revenue perspective, other is the social perspective. In Himachal Pradesh, they are considering increasing the age of marriage for girls from 18 years to 21 years. Okay. Now, if we want to look at it from society point of view, why would the state want to do so? And then again, there is again a concern about child marriage or marriage at the adolescent level and how it is affecting the welfare of the women and the society at large. Right. So that is a theme that we can consider. Thankfully, Punjab third in registering drug cases. First is Kerala, right? So there are other states also associated with drugs. That's the thing. Then again from the NCRP data, overcrowded jails. So jail reforms. Then we can always talk about the issue of under trials being in the jail, right? So that is also there. I think 67% of the people who are in the jail are under trials. Pan India data, the judicial cases are there. So they have been looking as to how we can reduce this. Okay. Again, a city specific news, but city specific news covers things that concerns us, at the governance level. More focus we get from there. So one of the issue is, for example, concerning groundwater. In Ludhiana, city of Punjab, groundwater turns black and stinky. Villagers say that they don't want to die of cancer. There is a concern, and one of the reasons is that the pollution is taking place from the industries nearby, particularly the dyeing industry. We can say that the pollution control boards are inept in dealing with this situation. Now, after all this has come up, local Punjab pollution control board is looking into it. Now, this is something that is should be common for UP also. There is this leather industry, dyeing industry there also. Okay. Now, so the main thing that we derive from here is the issue of groundwater. Right. So groundwater, very important issue. So one is, of course, the issues with the groundwater. Right. So declining water table, excessive extraction is taking place. That is the issue number one. Now, with the declining water table, that is the water level coming down, uh, there is exposure to heavy metals, arsenic, mercury, etc. So that is one thing. And other than this, there are these landfills from there where a lot of e-waste and other things are there. So when the rains and the water and moisture is there, organic waste is there, the moisture, keeps coming out of there. And it ultimately mixes with the heavy metals, it corrodes them, and ultimately it seeps into the ground and connects with the groundwater channels. So that is again a matter of concern. And imagine if this is extracted as elsewhere, contaminated water, it can lead to severe chronic diseases, including cancer. Now, here I want you to read this article. I think I have shared it on the uh, Telegram. I have shared this. This was a good article that I found. So there was this dynamic groundwater resource assessment 2022, right? And it tells us about the developments, concerns associated with groundwater, plus of course the concerns associated with unregulated groundwater extraction. So that is there. So holistically, we get all these points besides the government schemes. In fact, if you go to the Ministry of Jal Shakti, there also you will get the names of the schemes. But here it's very convenient. So Atal Bhujal Yojana, Bhujal means Bhu means earth, Jal means water, groundwater, Jal Shakti Abhiyan, aquifer mapping. So all these schemes are there. I would like you to add one point over here, which will not be mentioned here. That is Mihir Shah Committee report. So that also you can add Mihir Shah Committee report and Composite Water Management Index. That also talks about groundwater depletion. One army major has been sacked from Strategic Forces Unit. Strategic Forces Unit basically deals with tactical nuclear weapons, right? So that arm of the military, that is Strategic Forces Unit, very, very crucial. It was formed in 2003 by the Vajpayee government. Okay. So this person is alleged that he was in touch with Pakistani agents and thereby he's expelled by the president. Next, Navy ranks to be renamed in line with Indian traditions, says the Prime Minister. We have to go past the shackles of the slavery, which the colonial mindset is there, all those things. Okay, now key takeaways. So first of all, this statement was made in the context of the Navy Day, right? And we derived the following. So one is the renaming of the rank. Then he recognized the achievements of Maharaja Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and him developing a strong navy, a maritime force. And during his time, he recognized the importance of navy. So Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj is there. Okay, important personality from modern history. Besides this, actually, it's in between medieval and modern. Next, there is a reference of Indus Valley civilization. So he says that the maritime domain for India is not something new. It's not that the British brought over here. This is something that inherently was part of the Indian society. So even during the Indus Valley times, we have a famous site of Lothal in Gujarat, which was a dockyard, and from where the ships used to go to Mesopotamia, Delmoon, etc. Okay. Now, is Lothal a UNESCO World Heritage Site? Yes, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. More recently, Dholavira was added to this site. Overall, we have Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Ganeriwal, Rakhigarhi, Kalim, right? All these sites are there. Now, one Dholavira, you may need to read more about it. It's very recent. And a question that I've normally seen with the prelims, particularly, it is Dholavira lies on the Kadir Bait. It basically means an island surrounded by water. Bait means island surrounded by water. So let me just write it also. Kadir Bait. So Lothal he refers to. And besides this, there is a mention of Sagarmala project and the Maritime Vision program. So one by one, Sagarmala project. So Sagarmala project is basically creation of the port infrastructure, right? So ports, so that becomes a mala around the Sagar, the coastline. So augmenting the ports infrastructure, creating new ports, and besides better connectivity with the ports. So multimodal connectivity with the ports. So from ports, the ships connect with the railways seamlessly, so the logistics can be traveled. Likewise for roads, so multimodal transport. So that is there. So ultimately, this is under the Ministry of Shipping, but other ministries are also involved in implementing of this scheme. And one more component of Sagarmala initiative is it's not just about ports, but it is about port-led development. Port-led development, that is around the port where export and import will take place, there can be industries in the vicinity. They can take advantage of the coastal location. And if you want to read more about port-led model, and there is a very interesting Chinese approach known as Shenzhen model. Shenzhen model. So your OnePlus phone and all these Chinese phones are coming from Shenzhen. It was a normal fishing area, fisherman's village. But later it was developed. Now all the ecosystem concerned with mobile manufacturing is based over there. So the port was developed, industry was particularly for that sector was identified, and now you see where they are. Sagarmala project, and last we have the Maritime Vision program. So Maritime Vision 2030. Now I have referred on the Telegram, refer to page number 7. And from here you can get as to what are the key constituents of Maritime Vision Program 2030. Right, so we have strengthening policy, promote domestic shipbuilding. So it's not just ports, but also shipbuilding, repair and recycling. Cargo capacity, we can say improving logistics performance index, our ranking over there. Okay, promote cruise-based tourism. Then making India the leader in safe, sustainable and green maritime sector. Prime Minister Modi has been talking about blue economy. So blue economy is basically ocean-based economy plus sustainability. Right, so many things are there. Then Appendix 2 is of interest, initiative summary and roadmap. So if you can just read go to page number 273, that is also fine. You may also refer to the executive summary. Executive summary is normally written after the report is made, finalized. So the key constituents also will be mentioned in the executive summary. It's the short form of everything. Okay, I would want you to refer to this. Next, in 3 Hindi heartland states, how tribal parties left an imprint. We're not concerned with that. But what we are concerned is issues associated with tribals. Plus, Prime Minister Modi came up with a scheme for the welfare of the particularly vulnerable tribal groups, PVTG, right? So, what are some of the issues? One issue that was there, I think, in 2015 of prelims, this was about declining child sex ratio. Normally, with the tribal communities, we see the sex ratio is on the favorable side. For example, 1,000 males per 1,100 females, something like that we will see. As against the normal, the societies in the mainland where we will say 950 out of 1,000, something like that. So here the data is favorable. Again, sorry, this is 950 when we say women to per male. So this will be 1,100 to 1,000. So we are seeing a declining child sex ratio. What are the reasons behind this? This will be GS1 society and what needs to be done. Then we have the issues, the backwardness of the tribal areas, right? So that can be there. So GS3, that should be. Then tribal art, the important tribal arts. So that can be, of course, that can be asked in the prelims, but also from mains perspective. Writing, it's always more difficult, and elaborating a particular art form. Recalling just the name is much easier, but still it is difficult. So you must know some of the tribal art forms and you should be able to write on it. And then, of course, tribal art is there. Why not monetize it? A tribal engaged in certain activities, how can we monetize it? So tribal economy. You may refer to the TriFed, this website TriFed. So you may refer to this also. From here also you will get good data. Okay, now we are onto the editorial opinion page. I have focused on only one article over here, right? But before that, let me tell you, and that's the last article. Okay, so one is about Mizoram, right? So election that has taken place, ZPM's victory, a new political upfront. Markets were positive immediately post elections, and yeah, so it says that the markets are functioning according to reduced political and policy uncertainty more than anything else. So fundamentals, etc. No, they're looking at the political side of things. AIM Center for Transgender Healthcare is welcome, but structural hurdles remain. So all we want to focus, I have not read this, but again, the issue of transgender that we can look at. Today I'm not doing it. The untold oil stories, not interested. It's telling us about the political players. They are deciding, it's not going by fundamentals of demand and supply. I'm just doing this article over here. In Manipur for lasting peace. So this is internal security GS3. Okay. So if you look at the entire Northeast and in the recent times, we have seen a series of peace pacts or peace accords being signed by the center with the Northeastern militant groups. Most recently, it is with the Manipur's main militant organization, UNLF, United Nations Liberation Front. This is functioning within the valley area. So mountainous areas, the Kukis live, and the valley area is the interjunction between the plains and the mountain. So it is here, plains, it is the Meitei community, and so here it is the violence is taking place at this junction. So UNLF was operating over here. Okay, so peace accord has taken place over here. We saw it with Naga also, Naga peace accord. We don't know what were the key elements of this. We are only speculating. Then with the Kuki organization, there was suspension of operation, SOO. So yeah, so number of multiple peace pacts are there in the news. Now, what are the issues concerning them? So one issue is they are saying is that let's say we are talking about the UNLF or any Naga Accord also. So let's say we talk about NSCN. So we're talking about NSCN Isaac Moyuba. Now there are various other splinter groups from this organization also. Likewise for UNLF also. So there are a number of splinter groups that are emanating from there. So we are only having with the main part over here. Maybe they have mellowed down the leadership, but the new generation may be more aggressive. So it's not a comprehensive solution. And plus there are multiple organizations that may be operating. So does not imply peace, but yes, it is a significant achievement. This means that this particular group is laying down arms. Okay. So the concern about splinter groups that is there. And besides all these organizations, one is working in the northeast and then in the porous borders of Myanmar. So there are people who are operating outside of the territories of the country. And we see that the neighboring states, because they are concerned about their own safety and security, the peace, they are reluctant to act. So there is reluctance on this front. Okay, so splinter groups. Then there is also the private militia, small militia, self-styled militia groups. Then reluctance of neighboring states. Then what about the looted arms? The arms that have been looted over the years, they are still there. You may have the peace pact, but you still have to recover the arms because till the time the unaccounted arms are roaming around in the place, the violence may always take place. So floated, looted arms have to be recovered. Floating, looted arms. Then these groups are saying criminal cases should be revoked, right? Against these, they should be revoked. Normally it is done. But then this gives impunity for them to act. They continue to act violence and later surrender. This becomes a model for other leaders also. So this is not appropriate. Although this will be done eventually, but this is not correct. Maybe members of this group may still commit crimes and still seek shelter from the government, still seek immunity. Then the demand for separate administration, more autonomy. So, those things are claimed. Territorial council should be there, all those things. Inclusion in the sixth schedule. But then this is difficult because there are multiple stakeholders within the same geography. There are different groups, there are different stakeholders, and thereby if you focus on one group, the others may get offended. And they all have their historical context, right? So this is complicated, and implementing it is of course difficult, and there are a number of political challenges. I'll give you an example of Naga. So NSCN peace pact took place. We don't know what happened, but NSCN says that we want a separate Naga limb. Naga limb was a Naga homeland. Now Naga homeland would mean Nagaland is northeast. North of Nagaland is Arunachal. Right, south is Manipur. Then Assam is there over here. So Nagaland would mean expansion of all this. So other states, of course, and other groups would also get offended because of that. So this was about the Manipur issue. Next, Israel continues bombing even in safe areas, pushes Gazans further to Egypt. I think that is the ploy, increase violence so that Gazans evacuate to Egypt. Gaza is to the north of Egypt, northeast of Egypt. Okay, in Indonesia, we have Mount Marapi erupts, right? So this eruption is taking place. Mount Marapi is there in the news. It is from Indonesia. Basic idea you must have. Again, I would advise you to look at the map of Indonesia also, and the areas in the vicinity. Next, we have the economy section. Oil prices lower, 81.25, USD 83.36. Now, talking about the lower thing, oil price being lower, OPEC, led by Saudi, they are wanting supply cuts so that they can keep the oil prices at a higher level. And Indian side is saying is that we will not reduce the prices of the oil till the time the oil prices are sustainably below $80 per barrel. Next, Apple battery vendor TDK is to set up a plant in Haryana, says Minister of State for IT. So, and lithium ion cells, so that setup will come, right? So that supply chain will develop, all those things, good things will happen. Okay, next. Banks' exposure to NBFCs jumps 3.8 times in over 5 years, while at the same time, mutual funds, MFs have cut their exposure to these banks 31.4%. That means there may be something wrong. Why mutual funds are coming out, but banks are continuing to increase their exposure. Now, you have to see this in context. Recently, RBI's financial stability report raised a concern about the rising rate of unsecured loans or collateral-free loans. And thereby, the risk weightage was increased, thereby making the loans more expensive and unattractive. Now, banks have said that it is the NBFCs which are responsible. The bunch of the share from the unsecured loans are coming from the NBFCs. Microfinance institutions are also unsecured loans. But what they did not say was that banks, the NBFCs are getting money from the banks. Right. And the overall issue is that if this NBFCs fail or any of this thing, the loans they are not able to recover, then the share of the NPAs will increase. And this is not good. We have already, with great difficulty, we have come out with the challenge of twin balance sheet problem. That is, balance sheet of the banks are not healthy because of the rising NPAs. Then the corporates' balance sheet are not good because they're not able to pay back the loans. Their investments are stuck. So now neither is the private sector investing, and thereby the potential of GDP is increasing, nor is bank willing to lend money. Next. Over half of fiscal year 2023, bank loan write-offs linked to large industries. Okay. So we have NPA data in short, right? We have NPA data. So it says that, we just focus over here. So gross NPAs have come down from 2018. 2018 it was 10.21 lakh crores. Now it has come down to 5.5 lakh crores. It is mainly because of write-offs. It is not that banks have been able to recover that money. It is just that banks have written it off. So it is not reflecting in their balance sheet. But banks still owe that. People do owe that money. So banks have incurred a loss. It's basically an accounting miracle, but the problem is still there. So you have NPA data. It is at 5.5 lakh crores, but mainly coming from loan write-offs. Next, for the year 2023, the write-off was worth rupees 2.09 lakh crores. This is very, very huge. It's comparable to food subsidy, even oil subsidy. Right? It's a huge amount. Now, if you look at the loan write-offs or the NPAs, more than 50% of the write-off that has taken place, it is coming from large industries and service sector. Large industries and service sector. As against the popular view that it is mainly coming from the farm loan waivers. Okay. And I was looking for the farm loan waiver fact also. So I was doing a bit of research over here. So basically it is 32,000 crores. Right. So it's in thousands of crores. So somewhere around this figure, it is there for this year. It's still a huge amount. But then much of it is coming from the landless farmers. So more vulnerable sections as compared to large industries. Okay. If you look at the graph, write-offs and share of the large and industries and service sector. Then this data is coming from Ministry of Finance in Lok Sabha. Plane crash took place, one of the routine sorties, Pilatus PC-7 Mk2. This is a Swiss, this aircraft is there, right? Pilatus aircraft. So, yeah, I didn't check this. So this is about the Swiss aircraft team. So I have not checked this. You can read more about it. Next. Next, we come to the last topic, the fossil fuel question. Briefly, we are covering this. Okay. So first of all, 80% of greenhouse gas emissions are coming from oil, gas, and coal. Oil, gas, coal, and their derivatives. They account for 80% of greenhouse gas emissions. Okay. Now, uh, India is the one of the largest emitters of coal. It is the third largest emitter overall, and one of the largest emitters of coal. At the Glasgow Summit COP26, there was pressure being built on India. And India is using a lot of coal because we have a lot of coal-based power plants. Right? And so thermal power plants account for about 70%. 70% of energy requirement of a country is basically coming from coal. So at the COP26, the developed nations wanted to say that we need to phase out the use of coal, phasing out of coal. India said this is not acceptable to us. So under pressure, it became phase down of coal. That is, we will reduce the usage of coal. Okay. Now we are coming to COP28. And in the meantime, we are having this data from the World Meteorological Organization, the emissions gap report, which basically says that we are not on the path of limiting the climate change to 1.5 degrees Celsius global warming. In fact, if we continue the way it is happening, we are on the path to reach 2.9 degrees Celsius warming. And further, 2023 has already been stated to be the warmest year, and the next 4-5 years are going to be on the same trajectory. So each year may be the warmest year ever. Okay, so all that is taking place. So in the COP28, it is expected, and it's actually initiated by India, that they said that we need to phase out the use of gas or the fossil fuel in entirety, phasing out of fossil fuels, not just coal, but phasing out of fossil fuels. So that is what India proposed. And fossil fuels means coal, oil, gas, and everything. Right, so that is what it is. And when they talk about the fossil fuels, then the Western nations are not comfortable. Any country is not comfortable with, particularly the Western nations also, because uh, that brings obligations of natural gas, etc. Now, when the Ukraine war took place, natural gas was deemed as a green source of energy, green energy. Natural gas, imagine, fossil fuel was defined as green energy. Okay, so now if we have to deal with the issue of climate change, global warming, of course, we have to deal with the issue of fossil fuels. And we get an interesting fact that at the moment, from 2019 levels, the emissions have been reduced by only 2% in 2023 in 4 years. We have to do it 43%. 43% if we have to keep the hopes of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that's it from today's news analysis. Thank you for streaming in to our channel IS Primers with me, Shubhashish.